Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the CapesandLunatics. I am Phil. Lilith got stuck at work, but I have another guest. Well, I have a returning guest with me, who's always, very sharing of her time, Miss Erica Schultz. Hello.
Hello, Lilith. You are missed.
Yes. And Erica Schultz still busy. She's working as we speak.
I have my notebook in my hand. Right here. Yes.
I think the last time we talked, you were like, "Yeah, my comfort zone is 3 to 4 books a month. I'm at 7. So what's the total this time?"
Well, so it's gotten so bad that I've actually started using my whiteboard again. So by mid-February, so by the second week in February, I have to have one full 20-page script, one full 16-page script, the first chapter of a graphic novel, which is 20 pages, and I have to finish my 20 to 25-page chapter of a book on writing.
Wow. So comics and a book. So. Yes.
There was a Kickstarter done. I want to say it finished at the end of December through Rocket Ship. And Ryan Benjamin, who is a well-known artist and inker, was putting it together. So there's a bunch of different writers, and we're all sort of doing a chapter on our process, on storytelling in general, and on like how we approach a story, how we approach characters. And basically, I mean, if you ask 10 writers about process, you're going to get 30 different answers. You know, so it's basically just to show like, you know, if you have to cherry pick a little bit from each of us to figure out like what works for you, great. But I say like 5 times, like, this is my process. This is what works for me. If it doesn't work for you, you don't have to use it, kind of thing. So yeah, I think there's 6 or 7 writers that are part of this, and we're all just giving our own like little chapter and such.
And so you say you're talking about all these projects you're working on. So do you have to keep like intricate notes? You say you got the whiteboard out just to remember where you're at on each project?
The whiteboard actually is out because I actually forgot that I had one. I had pitched something in December and I totally forgot about it. And then I got an email earlier this week from the editor going, "Hey, so we're clear to go to script." And I was like, "Wait, what? Oh my God, I totally forgot I even pitched this." So I have a list of all the stuff that I need to do just so I don't forget. Because I obviously didn't say I totally forgot. Mm-hmm. But in my head, it was like, oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah. Not as young as I used to be.
Well, none of us are.
That is very true.
Yes, we all need healing factors, like Laura Kinney, Wolverine.
Yes, like Laura Kinney.
I like this book. I love what you do with the character. I'd say you're probably the one who makes me I don't know this. You're the one who makes me think more than any other writer I've read who's written this character, that how different she is from Wolverine. I think a lot of people are just like, it's Wolverine Jr., but no.
Yeah. I mean, they have a lot of differences just in general, because like one of the things that because you of course argue with people on the internet. One of the things that I say is like, she's not, like you said, she's not Wolverine Jr. because Logan had a childhood.
Yes.
Laura was literally created in a lab. She had 0 interactions with people. She had 0 social. She had nobody to tell her that she was special, nobody to tell her that she was loved. She just had Kimura, who was just beating the crap out of her, basically. Whereas Logan had a normal childhood, and Logan is over 150 years old. So even the really dark, evil stuff that he's done, he's had time to reconcile that. He's had time to develop who he is as a hero. Mm-hmm. Whereas Laura has thought about it and has tried to reconcile with it, but hasn't come all the way through it, because in this, when we did, when Edgar Salazar and I had done Deadly Regenesis 2 years ago, that was Laura at around 17 years old. For this current run that we're doing with Gianna Belviso, Laura's about 21, 22. And so, yeah, she is older. She is, and I'll put it in quotes, wiser. But at the same time, she's still a 22-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think if we all thought back to when we were 22, we thought we knew absolutely everything. And then life smacks you in the face and tells you, yeah, you don't know a third of what you think you know. Mm-mm. You don't know a tenth of what you think you know. Mm-mm. So, yeah.
And just the stuff she's going through, I keep that on there. Yeah, I could. And I guess, like, you know, after in a post Krakoa world and stuff, like, you paint her as like a protector of like her friends and like other innocents. Like, I like that. I like that. Again, it's, you know, yeah, she can get violent, but it's not just like for the sake of violence.
I think because Krakoa was one of the few places that she really did feel like home. I know there was a lot of turmoil with Sync, and then when she got resurrected, and then Talon came back and everything, there was a lot of sort of ambiguity around it, but it was a place that she could call home. It was a place that she knew she was wanted and she was safe. And that idea of Krakoa just, you know, up in smoke now, it's literally taken, you know, pulled the rug out from underneath her. And the fact that there are mutants that had wanted to go to Krakoa, like back in the day, they used to have, like, basically they would talk about how Genosha was the mutant utopia, and then they actually had Utopia, and then, you know, in San Francisco and everything. Krakoa really was like living the dream, you know, for a lot of people, Orcus notwithstanding and all of that, but Krakoa was living the dream. And the fact that not only is it gone, but gone in such a violent manner, it really messes with a lot of people's heads. And it tells some people, you know what, there's never a place for you, because here you thought there was a place for you, and look what happened. So you're never going to fit in. You're never going to have any sense of stability or anything like that. And that's what she's trying to fight, but also trying to fight, you know, the loss. I mean, think about it. Everybody there has to be grieving in one way or another. Mm-hmm. So some people take grief and they put it towards work. Other people take grief and they, you know, curl into a ball and shut down. Other people take grief and they get aggressive, you know, and some people do all of that. You know, so a lot of it has to do with, you know, grieving Krakoa, trying to find her place in the world. And she's just such an interesting and complex character. This is actually the 25th anniversary, or close to the 25th anniversary, because I think it was 2001 when she appeared in X-Men Evolution. But this is the 25th anniversary of X-Men Evolution, which started in 2000 this year. So. And I loved that show. I loved Evolution. X-Men Evolution and Justice League cartoons were the two shows that got me back into comics after college. So those, like, so when she was introduced in Evolution, I thought, I was like, this is groundbreaking. This is amazing. It's not girl Wolverine. Mm-hmm. It's young girl who has never had anything to call her own ever. You know, she didn't even have her own name, because she wasn't called Laura until the first NYX series. In X-Men Evolution, she was only called X-23. So she never had anything. She never had a name. She never had anything. Whereas Logan had, I'm not going to say he had an easy life. By no means did he, but he at least was able to sort of not necessarily like write his own ticket, but he was able to have more control over his life than she did, especially in the earlier years.
Yeah, and I mean, and there are also those many years where he couldn't remember a lot of his past, so he really didn't have to like live with it. She's lived with everything every second of her life.
Yeah, she didn't have, I mean, for lack of a better term, she didn't have the luxury of the amnesia, you know? And I'm sure there's some days that she wishes she had. She wishes that she had the ability to forget people and places and things that she's done. But she's working with what she's got, you know.
Mm-hmm. All right. So yes, now I feel old. I was like, wait, it's been 25 years since that character was introduced. Yes.
Yeah. I'm coasting to 48 this year, so you know.
Oh, okay. Yep, I'm gonna be 47 in like a few months. Yep. Uh-huh.
So it's that's always fun. And Giada Belviso, who's the artist on this, phenomenal artist.
Yes.
Wonderful. Just a good, kind soul, and she's just great. She's great to work with. She is funny and sweet, and she's got these great ideas. And I was getting artwork from her for one of the issues that is coming out later, and just her expressions, and there's this back and forth between Laura and this other character, and it's so exuberant, and you can feel like you're in that room, and you can feel like you're part of the joke. Mm-hmm. You know, you feel you have like the big cheeks and the smiling, and like the idea of like you're smiling so much your face hurts, and that seems so antithetical to Laura, but in this particular scenario, it makes sense. And yeah, Giada is really fabulous to work with, and Rochelle Rosenberg, who is the colorist, who I've worked with many times before. Rochelle just has, you know, just such a great palette. Mm-hmm. And then Corey Pettit is our letterer, so you know he gets to fill in the 9,000 captions that I tend to write.
I mean, I like a lot of I mean, again, I'm old school, but yeah, I like a lot of captions, and you know, even just like inner monologue and stuff.
I mean, I talk to myself in my head all the time. I don't know if everybody else does it, but I know I do.
I know I do. I wonder if comic fans are just like, and especially, you know, comic creators, do you imagine you have like boxes over your head, be like, oh,
little balloons, like bloop, 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 bloop. Maybe. Who knows? If this is all a simulation, possibly. Who knows?
If this is a simulation, turn it off, turn it back on.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, this is, as if this book wasn't good enough, then issue 2 comes along and we get a guest star. Who I mean, just she's appearing more and more everywhere in your work. So I'm thinking this is someone's favorite character, maybe.
Well, no, I mean, I definitely love writing Elektra, but I will say this. I think one of the reasons why I brought Elektra in was because I'm currently writing Unleash Hell, which is another Elektra miniseries. Oh, and when I started writing this, I was finishing up Daredevil Woman Without Fear. So I had Elektra in my head a lot, and I was trying to pivot to sort of push Elektra to the side and then get Laura's voice in my head. And then I was asked to do Unleash Hell. So then Elektra sort of comes back with so I said, you know what? I can't get confused with these voices. So why don't I just make it a little easier in my life and just put Elektra in for a couple issues? And then when she's talking to me, it'll make sense to me. It's not like she's fighting with Laura's voice. And there's so much that these two women have in common in general. Mm-hmm. The fact that they're both wearing the mantle of a male character, notwithstanding the fact that they were both trained at very young ages. Mm-hmm. The fact that they have both, been assassins, they have both killed indiscriminately, and the fact that they're both trying to find their way to be heroes. Mm-hmm. And Elektra is obviously, she is older in general, life experience wise. So Laura's initial reaction of, I know what I'm talking about, like, I'm an adult, and Elektra's like, yeah, you might technically be an adult, but there's a lot of life experiences you still need to have, kid. Calm down. And I think it also allows us to have a little more playfulness with Elektra, because usually she's very like gonna kill everybody at all times kind of thing. And since she's had to pull her punches and she's had to pull back because of the vow that she made to Matt, she is trying to find some sense of, well, if I'm not going to kill all these people, then at least let's try and find some sense, make sense of this whole situation. So the fact that she has these sort of like very interesting, sarcastic little, jabs at Laura, like things like, are you going to listen to me? Like, I don't want to dislike you more than I dislike the other Wolverine. Like, that kind of thing. And I think she has the ability to take it easy a little bit because she's just so capable. Elektra is, and editors have said she's probably the most dangerous person in the entire Marvel universe. So I'm pretty jazzed that they allow me to have responsibility over her.
I mean, yeah, I didn't think of it until she showed up in the book, but I'm just like, okay, yeah, that makes sense that, they have a lot in common and stuff.
Yeah.
And of course it doesn't hurt. You're just like, oh, hey, there's a book with Elektra out right now. You're going to go pick that up. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like I say to people, if you're enjoying Elektra's entrance into this Wolverine book, then you can look back to Gang War. You can look back to Women Without Fear. You can even go back to the Marco Cicchetto and Chip Zdarsky run, where she became Daredevil because Matt was put into prison, and and he said, like, Hell's Kitchen needs a protector, so I want you to do it. So I mean, you can go back and you can see sort of her evolution, and see where she started out with Chip and Marco. And, then I was working with Sergio Devilla, with Gang War, Sergio and, Sean Parsons and, CC, De La Cruz. And then we had, Mike Dowling, who we worked together on Hallows Eve. So we partnered up again for Women Without Fear, and we had Brian Reber. And now it's, Valentini Pianti and Dee Kniff are doing the artwork for Unleash Hell, which is Red Band. So I make sure that we earned that.
Okay, I know Lilith and I had a question. It's yes, it is Red Band. It says explicit content, but then there's like one page where Daredevil's beating up the gang, and one of them said they censor a word. They say "bleep you, Daredevil." I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, I thought this was supposed to be explicit content.
Okay. So this was a question that I had originally when they said Red Band. I said, okay. So I was like, so we're talking Marvel Max, because there was a Punisher Marvel Max book where there was like nudity, there was cursing, there was everything. And I was like, are we talking like? And I want to say Steve Dillon had drawn it, but I'm not entirely sure. But I was like, are we going Marvel Max? And they're like, we're not going that far. I was like, okay, so no nudity. I was like, but, can I curse? And they said no. And I was like, what do you mean? So basically, the way it was explained to me was that I can show someone being disemboweled in a very graphic manner, but I can't say shit.
Oh, jeez.
Like, that's the way it was explained to me. And I'm like, fine.
Yes, let's not warp the minds of children. Yes, no.
Exactly. But you can see somebody's intestines being ripped out of their body. That's totally fine. That's totally fine. There are very strange hills that editorial or the gaggle of lawyers will die on. It is there. I can't explain the emails sometimes that I get. And I'm like, this is what you're questioning? Like, are you sure? Because part of me is like, did you read it? Because there's stuff way worse than that in this. And this is and this is what you're worried about? Like, I remember, I was working with Luciano Vecchio on, Venom War, and I wrote in one of the pages that there are dead bodies hanging from the ceiling in the large lobby of Alchemex, like Christmas decoration.
Yeah.
And they were fine with that. But they didn't like the fact that twice in the same issue, I used a Russian word that technically means pancake, I believe you pronounce it blin, and it technically means pancake, but it's usually used when somebody's like, "Ah, shit,"
Okay.
But I used it twice, and so that was something to kick up a fuss. Yet we can have dead bodies hanging like literal Christmas tree ornaments, and that's fine. So I'm just like, I don't know.
I don't know. That just seems like pop culture in general. Even like movies, it's like, oh yeah, we can show someone getting decapitated, but God forbid you see like a nude human body.
Yeah, I know. Hold on one second, ladies, behave yourselves. I have two cats there. They're on the chair right next to me, and one was laying down, and the other one is like jumped on top of her, and she's doing the like I'm not touching you kind of thing.
Oh, okay. Like siblings do.
Yes, please behave yourself, the two of you, please. Oh, geez. I can't watch.
So I guess the sales of all your Daredevil series are doing good because you say they ask you back and stuff. Because I know every time we get to the end of one of these like series, like me and Lilith are disappointed, but then we're like, oh yay, it's Erica's coming back for another Daredevil, but. Because I know we were kind of upset because I think the last one ended in was it like maybe November, and then it's like, oh, the new one's coming out, yay, but not till January. We're like, oh, nothing in December.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a whole Reddit thread of like, why don't they just give her an ongoing? Mm-hmm. I don't know, and to be perfectly honest, like I think right now, if I had to add another thing to this whiteboard, I would probably jump out a window. So I'm okay because I finished issue number 5. Finished the last issue of Unleash Hell. I mean, I go back and I do a lettering draft, obviously, but the script itself is done and out and out the door. But yeah, if they turned around and said, hey, we want to do a Daredevil ongoing, I'll be like, can we start in like May?
Oh.
Because I want to get some stuff off my plate.
Yeah, I'd say that probably the best timing would be March because there's a certain TV show coming up.
Well, there is a certain TV show coming up. Although somebody said it was February, and I was like, I could swear that it was March. It is. No, March, right?
I think it's like it might be like the second week of March or something. But yeah, I've been keeping track of this. Yes, it's March. So unless they've pulled something, and I don't know. But
Matt's coming back.
Oh yeah,
I gotta say. That trailer had everybody. It had Punisher. Oh, yeah. It had Bullseye. It had Kingpin. It had Muse. There was a character. Now, I know it's not Phantomax, but there was a character who looked a lot like Phantomax in there.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they were setting up Bullseye, it seems like, for a lot of stuff, unless they just gave Bullseye like a decent costume or something. Frank Castle. Yeah, I mean, just the Kingpin and everything. So, yeah, I mean, again, I don't want to kill you, but yes, that would be the perfect time to pull, like, put out a book with anything that has related to Daredevil.
Well, Unleash Hell's 5 issues, so it's going January to May. So it will be coming out in that same time frame.
That would be interesting to see if like March, April, if you get like an uptick or something.
Who knows?
So would you? I know your plate is extremely full, but do you like it doing the mini-series after mini-series, or would you rather have like an ongoing, just on the creative side, that you could do like a longer reaching
arc?
Yes.
I mean, it's kind of 6 of 1, and the reason why I say that is because the mini-series are 4 or 5 issues, which is what usually an arc is.
Yeah.
If you're doing it ongoing. On Spawn, on Rat City, the arcs are 6 issues, but that 4 to 6 is pretty standard for Western comic storytelling, and especially for superhero storytelling. So, I mean, doing the miniseries, I guess the thing that is, to me, is a little, I guess, frustrating is consistently changing artists. Because I feel like I get into a really good groove with an artist, and then the miniseries is over, and then that artist is immediately put on something else. So when Sergio Davia had finished Gang War, and they came to me about Woman Without Fear, I said, oh, so it's going to be Sergio, thinking like we just finished together. They're like, no, Sergio's already doing, I think he was doing one of the newer Chris Claremont books. But no, Sergio's doing that. He might do a cover or 2, but, he's on that. And I was like, all right, well, and then, we got Mike Dowling, which was great because I I already had a relationship with Mike. We had done, 6 issues of Hallows Eve together. But then it was, again, Unleash Hell. It was like, oh, so is Mike going to be on that? No. We have a new artist, Valentina, who's phenomenal. I adore her work. So I think that to me is like the main hiccup. Like, Jada is working on layouts for issue number 7. Jay Carlos, who has worked with me with Rat City, is working on issue 12. So, we have a relationship that has been built over a significant period of time, to the point where we feel very comfortable saying, hey, could you do this? Or what do you think about that? And the back and forth. And I think that sometimes when you're constantly getting new artists, it feels like starting over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's the nature of the business. People are, they're blocked for one, gig, and then they move to the next and the next, and I get it. But just from my perspective, it's kind of like, well, I kind of like the idea of creating a shorthand, and being able to really get in a groove with the same artist and really know who you're writing for, because when you're first starting out with an artist, you kind of have to figure each other out. And then, okay, I want to write to their strengths and things like that. And with Blood Hunters, I started, first time I ever worked with Robert Gill, fantastic artist, really enjoyed working with him a lot. But yeah, like that first issue, we kind of had to, figure each other out a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then, it got easier and easier and easier as you go. And then, we went through 5 issues and it just, went super fast.
It does go super fast.
Yeah.
Oh, but speaking of, yes, Rat City number 10 out in stores today, so go pick it up. Yep. You will be happy to know, I swear, I don't know if it's everything to do with Diamond right now, but I'd say all this month, most if not all of December, like the shipments to my comic shop are like all kinds of nuts, like a lot of stuff was been late, either days or whatever. But again, this was on time this week. I know the other week when I went, like a lot of stuff was late, but Laura Kinney Wolverine number 2 was on time. So good. I don't know what you did, but yes, your book seemed to be shipping on time. So
honestly, I don't know very much about the distribution issue. I have a great shop called The Geekery in Matawan, New Jersey, owned by 2 brothers, Doug and Justin. They're fantastic guys. And there are a lot of like nitpicky things when it comes to distribution that I have no knowledge of, simply because that's not my purview. That's not my lane.
Yeah.
So like I'll email them or I'll send a text and be like, hey, could you give me an FOC for this, or could you let me know when the on sale date is for, this particular book or whatever. And they have access, because they have to go through orders and things like that. They have access to all of that, which to me is like, that's, like Valhalla. I don't know any of that stuff until I see them. And it's always a joke, because like I'll come in on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and I'll literally, like, they have like this random like stool in the corner. I will pick up the stool, bring it in front of the register, sit down, pull out my notebook and be like, let's go through all the books that are coming out. Give me FOC dates. Give me, what is the final order date? What is the, on sale date? What are the different covers? Because that's another thing, is like, if I go onto Previews World just to look at covers, you'll see a lot of those thumbnails that say like cover art not ready. But they have access to at least a work in progress of the cover art as a retailer. So I'll just be like, I want this many copies of this cover and that many copies of that cover, whatever. And they really are just genuinely cool people. And, and any creator in the area, in Central Jersey really should be chatting with them, because they're very cool. They're very, like, I sent a whole list today by email, like, of all the different Uncanny Gambit variants I wanted. I was like, is this an incentive variant? If not, please put that on my polls. If this is, if this isn't an incentive, please put. And it's just like, they're so patient with me.
Yeah, I mean, so many of those local comic shop guys are just like the unsung heroes, because it's like you're dealing with, hardcore fans like us, and then it's like, then you might have someone walk in and be like, okay, I want to read comics for the first time. Where should I start?
And I mean, they have, like, their shop is like 100% inclusive. It's like safe space. Anybody can go in there, and that's like really very cool. And they are very they're very involved in the community, in the town. Like when the town has they have like a 5K, they're involved in that and everything. So they're showing that it's not just it's just this one shop. Like there is like a genuine sense of community there, and I think that that's really great. And like you said, like these mom and pop shops, it's so important to not only show your appreciation for them, but also to make sure that you are supporting them, whether you're like retweeting them on social media or, you are, going to them once a week or, twice a month kind of thing. Because it's important. And if you have a pull list, please don't let it go for too long.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, you have to pick up your pulls. You have to, because that's money that they can't recoup.
Yeah, I
and the margins are so slim anyway.
Oh yeah.
So definitely make sure that you pick up your pulls, and it's just, I mean, it's a great place for community as well. Just to hang out and just BS about different comics, or somebody being like, oh hey, I picked. Oh, you didn't read this yet? Oh, you got to check it out. You got to read this, that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Elektra can't say fuck in this book.
Oh my God. No, I think I believe she says crap once.
Yeah.
But, she can't say that. But, I mean, there's some, that page 20 is, pretty graphic. Although I went on an anti-capitalist diatribe in that book, and nobody batted an eye. I could have sworn that I was waiting for the lawyers to do an email and be like, you can't say this, because I just basically went off on like, commercial art schlock.
Oh yeah,
like that, and it was just this like diatribe of capitalism, of anti-capitalism. Nobody said a word, but you can't say shit.
But I wonder if that's because it's the it's not the main character saying it. Like if Elektra was saying it, it might hold more. I don't know.
Yeah, but it is the main villain who is the axis on which his entire story is based on. So I don't know. Like I said, everybody has very strange hills that they are willing to die on.
Yes. Yeah, and I was pleasantly surprised. It has to do with Muse. I was like, oh wow! I'm like that. I like when the writers like that, like when you pull somebody in like that. I'm like, oh, I haven't thought about him in like 5 years, however many years.
Yeah, just sometimes the obscure characters are more fun to work with simply because you have a lot more leeway. Because if not a lot has been written about a character, or not a lot has been written in general, or this character has been used a lot, there's a lot of unanswered questions, and that gives you a lot of freedom to write things, because you're not really tied to very, very recent continuity. And I went back, and Charles Soule was rating that run of Daredevil, and I went back and I read, and it was with Blind Spot, and I read that through, and I was like, all right, yeah, I get it. There's a lot of questions that everybody still has about this particular character, but there's a lot of things that we don't have to explicitly say that we can allude to. And also there's a lot of just freedom, because he is in hell, and because, spoiler, and because, he's manipulating somebody else, there this gives us a little extra, wiggle room to have him do things that a regular person on Earth, in this mortal coil, wouldn't be able to do. So it gives us a little wiggle room because he's technically like a demon spirit.
Yeah, and I mean, two things. I mean, one, people don't have as much, as many expectations for like a muse. Like if you're using the Kingpin, everyone has an image of, wow, the Kingpin would stand to. And two, it's Elektra. It's nice, kind of like building up a rogue gallery for Elektra. She's not just battling Matt's villains. Well, he was a Matt villain, but.
Well, I mean, he was less of a Matt villain than he was a Blind Spot villain.
Yeah.
Like Matt really like goes up against him like once, maybe twice. I would say like 1.5 times. And yet it was Sam, Blind Spot, who was going up against him often.
Yes.
And so it was kind of interesting that it was like, yeah, he is more of a Blind Spot villain than a Matt villain, but but that everybody swaps villains.
Oh yeah.
Everybody's rogues gallery becomes everybody else's, especially like when we were working on Gang War and with Blood Hunters, same thing. I mean, when you're doing a big story where there's big crossovers and everything, everybody's rogues gallery is going to come into play. So for Gang War, we had Elektra was going up against Madame Mask. She was going up against Bellona, and especially like in the big battle royale, she was going up against a lot of Spider-Man rogues gallery.
Of course, yeah.
Whereas with Woman Without Fear, her the people who she's going up against is the Magia, who she's worked with, she's worked for at some point as well. The Magia, but then there's also Crossbones, who you don't really think of as her rogues gallery. That's more of a Captain America kind of character, but they're all living in the same universe. So.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I know during Gang War, like I know me and Lilith were like really appreciated. It's like, sometimes if you're doing something in a bigger event, a story can get kind of bogged down or tied into that event. But it was taking place during Gang War, but you kind of wrote like your own story. It was its own story. It didn't need Gang War. I
remember we had done this giant Zoom meeting, and it was like there were so many people on the Zoom call that like the thumbnails of people's faces were so tiny. And I remember sitting there going, like listening to everybody talk and this and the next thing. And then I think it was C.B. Cebulski was just like, well, Erica, what do you want to do? And I don't think I was prepared to be actually called out. So I said, I was like, I just want to tell a cool story that's not going to step on anybody else's toes. Like, I just want to tell a story that can live in the situation, but isn't affecting things so much. And for the most part, that story, like you said, I mean, with the exception of a couple of Spider-Man interactions, and a She-Hulk interaction, which I'll tell you a funny story about that in a second. It's because, with the exception of that, to anchor it to Gang War, like overall, we did pretty much what we wanted to. Originally, instead of She-Hulk, Elektra was supposed to talk to Jessica Drew.
Oh.
But Sergio loves She-Hulk. And so when I had sent the script, he was looking it over, and he had, there was that group shot of everybody, and he got to write She-Hulk in that. And, he's like, I love She-Hulk. She's the best, blah, blah, blah. And he says, is there any way that we can get more She-Hulk in? And I was like, yeah, I mean, we can fill in anybody for this, conversation back and forth. So I was like, yeah, we'll put She-Hulk in it. So then we had that, that sort of humorous thing where She-Hulk is like, oh, hey, it's Jen. And Elektra's like, who? Because she made this comment of, the superheroes and all their like little teams and everything. It's really tough having to remember everybody and everybody's code name and this, that, and the next thing. So, yeah. So it ended up being like a really cute little thing to show that Elektra can be a little, what's the word? A little caustic.
Mm.
So.
I mean, it worked, but now you really have me. I want an Elektra and Jessica Drew somewhere.
Who knows? Who knows? I mean, maybe that's the next Daredevil miniseries that they, I get an email tomorrow or Monday being like, "Hey, do you want to do another Daredevil miniseries?" Like, sure, I'll do another Daredevil miniseries. Let's put her together with this person. Yeah.
I mean, West Coast Adventure. I think Jessica Drew's out on the West Coast right now. So
yes, West Coast Adventures. I haven't picked that up yet. I need to start. I'm a little behind on things.
Mm-hmm.
I've been writing more than reading lately, so.
Yeah, I was going to say, when do you ever have time to read? Because anytime I talk to you, you have.
Yeah,
I was going to say a handful, but I think you need two hands to count the stuff you're doing at any one time.
I think at this point, I'll read a little bit before bed, and depending on like what I'm working on or depending on my mood, I try and read stuff that is so outside of what I'm working on. So like I'm reading Titans and Birds of Prey and FML, and I went back and I was reading old Hellboy compendiums, just something that allows me to shut my brain off and just read the story, versus if I'm reading like Ms. Marvel or Wolverine or Daredevil or, Phoenix, Uncanny, whatever, there's a part of me that can't just enjoy the story because I'm stopping every 5 seconds thinking, okay, so this is happening in X-Men number whatever. How is that going to affect what we're doing in Laura? And, so, I mean, so it's kind of rough because I want to read more of the X books, but I really can't, simply because I'm too worried that I'm going to be starting to analyze everything before, I can actually like enjoy the story. So yeah, so I'm reading more indie stuff. I'm reading FML. I've picked up some other books, and like I said, I've been going back to like my old, I have the old Spawn compendiums, and I've been looking at those and reading the old Hellboy.
Yes, so. Yes. I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but yes, today in Rat City number 10, you do reference a Spawn character from.
Yeah. So I wanted that first arc to really
stand on its own,
separate.
Yeah.
And now, little by little, we are starting to weave things in. So I just finished the script for 13. So we set this up in 10. 11 and 12 give us, a little distance, and then 13 goes back and we start seeing these little things, and 14 is definitely going to be tying into the Spawn general universe a little bit more. And then, once we get to the end of this arc that ends at 18, we're going to be pretty embedded into the universe. And I think that the reason why Jay and I were talking about this, and the reason why we wanted to sort of have it be a slow introduction, is because I know a lot of people were very intimidated when they were like, oh, there's a new Spawn book, but I don't have time to read 350 issues of Spawn. And it's like, no, I get it. So to start Rat City, you don't need to read 350 issues of Spawn.
Mm-hmm.
You can start Rat City as is. And the only time that you see Al is that, hallucination in issue number 1.
Mm-hmm.
But every other character stands on their own. So now that I'm slowly starting to pepper it in, it's now becoming part of the larger Spawn universe.
Mm-hmm.
If you just started with Rat City, then you're gently being brought into the rest of the Spawn universe. And there's the Violator miniseries that's out right now, and then Gunslinger and Medieval and King Spawn and Scorched, and what I like to call is Spawn proper, like Spawn Prime.
Yes.
The main book that's in 300, I think 363, 364, I think is the next issue. So like those. I want to be able to sort of handhold somebody through. I do mention Al though in issue number 6 when I go through the history of the Bowery.
Oh yeah,
Al is mentioned as like an urban legend.
Yeah, and again, you had to do a slow start because not only was this a brand new character, but it's set in the future, so you're kind of setting up a whole new world too.
Yeah, there was a lot of world building, a lot of back and forth with Shay about aesthetics, about where we wanted to take it. I mean, and Jay did something phenomenal in the first issue that I don't know if people realized, but it's going to come to play because there's a moon base. When you look at that first panel, that half splash panel, and you look at the moon in the background, you can see infrastructure on the moon. So we're going to go to the moon.
Oh, nice.
You know, and you know, the main themes though about like grief, loss, guilt, and things like that, those are still maintained throughout the story. And I think because, you know, grief is not something that you just get over. It's not like there's a six month time limit. It's like, well, I'm done, you know, and we have to remember that Quinlan lost someone very close to them, and Peter lost who he considered Reese like a brother. You know, there's a scene in issue 11 where Peter is in this place and he's sort of having a moment to himself, and he looks out and he says, "Hey Reese," because he's almost like talking to Reese, almost like you would talk to, like, you know, you're talking to your grandfather who passed away, and he says, "Would you look at that? Would you look at that? You know, that view? I think it's so quiet, it's so peaceful. I think it's been a really long time since either one of us has had a moment of peace." You know, and it sort of reminds you, yeah, these guys were soldiers.
Oh yeah,
they were in the shit. You know, and to just, even if it's like 5 minutes where you don't hear anything and it's just, you know, that makes a difference. So,
and it also in Rat City you can say shit, I believe, right?
Yes, you can say shit. If you're gonna say fuck, you have to do F asterisk.
Okay.
But you can say shit, and I try not to say shit more than like 2 times in an issue.
Yeah,
because then the other thing is that, like, if you're overusing it, then it doesn't have the impact.
Yeah, no, and it's just,
you know,
like,
if everybody is saying shit, then it doesn't have the impact that it's supposed to have. But yeah, I try and not to use it more than like 2 times in an issue. I'll use crap a few times and damn it and things like that as well. So.
All right. I will let you go. Well, again, let's spend the next 10 minutes going over everything you're working on right now.
Oh God.
I mean, we already mentioned Laura Kinney Wolverine. We mentioned
Laura Kinney Wolverine,
Daredevil
Rat City.
Yeah.
Daredevil Unleash Hell. There's an OGN project that, well, it actually isn't even going to be out until next year, so I can't talk about it yet. I don't even know when they would announce it. But yeah, I'm continuing on Rat City. I am continuing on Laura Kinney, and Unleash Hell. If you thought that issue number 1 was a little stomach churning, it's only going to get worse.
Oh, nice.
Don't eat while reading this comic. That is the best advice that I can give you. Because I was told, let's make this red band. To the point where I feel like I actually scared poor Valentina.
Oh, really?
With some of the descriptions of things. Because some things are just gross. They're just straight up gross. And yeah. I think I might have actually frightened her with some of the descriptions. You know, and I started putting in my scripts, like, if you don't feel comfortable drawing this, let me know. You know, but I did have a horror series with Dave Acosta back in 2018 called 12 Devils Dancing. That it was a 6-issue horror miniseries, and that has a lot of body horror in it. And it's comparable to the level of body horror that we go to in this. Yeah.
I had an idea a while ago because when we were talking to like all the comic book writers and stuff, and like weird stuff would come up. I'm like, you know what I want to do? I want to do a show maybe once a month or every week. I don't know, depending how many people we could get. And just every episode, go to a different comic book writer and say, okay, show us what's in your search history.
Oh God, no.
And just see all the weird shit that's in like your search history.
I have to be on a watch list. Because I research like what certain weapons look like. I research I'm genuinely surprised that earlier last year I had to research pipe bombs.
Oh.
And I am just to look up reference for how they look and stuff. And I'm genuinely surprised that no one showed up at my doorstep, because I was doing a deep dive on pipe bombs, on how to build a pipe bomb, on what the ingredients are, how easy or difficult is it to build a pipe bomb. I was, listening to a podcast on the Unabomber and such, and, other people who have done, mass killings, but through bombing and such, like Timothy McVeigh, Ted Kaczynski and such. And so my history, my podcast history and my search history was all about building bombs and things like that. And so I'm genuinely surprised that nobody showed up at my doorstep, because I was even getting to the point where I was like, don't hit enter on that search, Erica.
I feel like you need documentation from like Marvel, Disney, or something. Be like, she is a writer. This is why she's researching all this.
It's like when you go to the airport and you have like a knee replacement, and you've got to have a note from your doctor when you have a knee replacement. Like, it's basically like that. Like, what do you do? Like, what are you doing that you need to search pipe bombs? I'm writing comic books. I'm really sorry. Although at the same time, like, that would be the perfect cover.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, it's not as bad as, but maybe this is coming up for Daredevil Unleash Hell. How do you dismember a body, and how to hide the pieces? I
mean, I studied. I trained to be a first responder, so I'm very immune to. I look at bodies or things like that. I'm very clinical about it. Like, I don't get emotional about it. If it was an animal, oh my God, I would lose.
I mean, your search history. I mean, that's not in your search.
Oh, my search. Well, yeah. I mean, like, I'll have a search history about, terrible burns or terrible lacerations and cuts and things like that. I mean, in the first issue of Unleash Hell, there's that huge explosion that happens, and you see Elektra blown out from a window, and so I was looking up reference for these cuts on the arm, on the face, on like right in the corner of the lip, where your two lips meet. There's like a cut right there, and this and the next thing. And she's sewing herself up. So I wanted you to see fascia. I wanted you to see, tissue and the skin coming together as she's literally stitching herself up and suturing herself up.
So you were a first responder. So that scene of her stitching herself up, that is medically accurate then?
Well, I mean, as close as can be. I mean, I'm very heavy on the reference. Like, every script at the top says like reference in this Dropbox, and every issue has its own, Dropbox, with specific reference in it. So there was reference but see, like, when I'm doing that search, it comes up on the prove that you're over 18 to see this image.
Oh, wow.
And it's almost like, I don't know if you ever watched Faces of Death, but it's almost like trying to look up Faces of Death and things like that. So, and I know I dated us, both of us, by saying that.
Yeah.
Don't look up Faces of Death, kids. Don't. Just don't do it.
I mean, we mentioned our ages. We aged ourselves.
Yeah. It's grotesque. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the vibe that we're going for. It is a red band book. Let's give people their money's worth,
I I'm trying to think if this is like the first red band that's not like kind of like a supernatural thing. So I think Blood Hunt, didn't they do some red bands?
Blood Hunt, Blade, and Werewolf by Night.
Werewolf by Night. So I think this is like the first maybe that non-supernatural book, maybe.
I mean, you could turn around and say that, like, with the whole thing with the demon, with Muse being a demon kind of escaping hell, like, that's true. Kind of supernatural-esque. But the character, and, you know, Elektra has been associated with, like, mysticism and things like that in the past. Yeah. And with the hand, and even, you know, that last run on Daredevil with Marco Cicchetto and Chip Zdarsky, where Matt basically forces Elektra to kill him so he can go to hell and kill the beast of the hand. So there was that sort of supernatural mysticism around that as well. So I mean, she's not immune to it in terms of like her history as a character. But yeah, I do wonder if there is a book that could be Red Bands that doesn't have any of that, or that doesn't have any. It's like a 100% pure street level character, because you can't even say Moon Knight, because Moon Knight has issue and everything. So
I mean, if you did like an old school Frank Castle Punisher book, maybe.
Yeah, if you're going back to like Marvel Max kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I'm too busy thinking about other books, and, you know, with my notebook and everything.
Yes, literally, kid. She was working at when we popped on. So.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else we didn't mention? Anything else you're working on we didn't mention?
Rat City, Laura Kinney, Wolverine, Daredevil, Unleash Hell. Web of I have a short in Web of Venomverse, I think it is.
Oh, wow. Cool.
It's just a short story, but it was a lot of fun to do, and it's a little like kind of goofy. I kind of like doing these shorts just because they give me the opportunity to like do something cartoonish or do something, you know, kind of goofy, or explore a character that, you know, I wouldn't normally get the chance to do. So yeah, so there's a Web of Venomverse. I can tell you in a second. Let me just look up my schedule, and I can tell you when it's coming out. I have to go to my little spreadsheet.
It shouldn't be too long, because I thought I saw some solicit.
I think it's April. Yeah. Yes, Web of Venomverse #1. It is the 2nd of April. So April 2nd is I will have a short in that. And then Venomous, which was the Venom War story that I did with Luciano Vecchio and Rochelle Rosenberg, that is in trade paperback form on the 20th of May. And Daredevil Woman Without Fear is trade paperback in March.
Oh, nice.
Yes, the same day that Daredevil Unleash Hell #3 comes out, Daredevil Woman Without Fear trade comes out.
And I don't think I got the chance to talk to you since then, but bravo on your story from Spider-Man Black Suit and Blood #2.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was, again, it's fun to do these little shorts. And because you gotta flex another part of your brain, you know, and I'll be eyeball deep in, you know, Elektra and her as a character, or Laura, or the Deviant from Rat City. So to be able to just take, you know, a day away from that and, you know, write a goofy story about, you know, Flash Thompson, or, you know, write something funny for the Venomverse story, you know. It's still work, but it kind of feels like a rest.
Yeah. Is it more like a creative, like, exercise almost?
Yeah, to me it's a creative respite, because, you know, even though Elektra hasn't been an ongoing, I've been writing her like an ongoing for over a year, and, you know, I've been writing Laura, and I've been writing Rat City, Peter from Rat City. So it feels like I have these characters down, so I know where they're going to go. I know what they're going to do. I know how they're going to say whatever they're going to say. But then you have something else where you're telling a story from the perspective of a character that you never really worked on, and it's a throwback. So you kind of have to get into the cadence of speech of Peter at the time,
yes,
and of Flash, and what is the relationship between Peter and Flash at this time. And because at this time we never had, Venom never had a voice, what would he sound like? He would sound kind of like a toddler because he's new and he's trying to figure things out. He doesn't have Eddie Brock yet to start, waxing poetic. He just has this sort of like, this is new, this is strange, this is different, this is interesting kind of thing that we worked with. And the other short that I had done was for Marvel Zombies, and I got to do a bucket list character, which was Beta Ray Bill.
Oh, nice.
And that was for, I want to say that came out in 2023, Marvel Zombies. It's in the same issue with Gail Simone and Dale Eaglesham had a story in there. And I was able to take a Beta Ray Bill story and make it less about me zombie grumble kind of thing, and make it more about Bill and the fact that he is immune because of his Corbinite physiology, and not just the Corbinite physiology, but all of the enhancements that he had done to him to become the protector of the Corbinite. And so what does that look like when all your friends around you are dying? You're watching everybody that you know and that you love become a zombie. And even if you wanted to enter oblivion to be with them, you can't. So, I mean, Bill is not an immortal, but he's pretty damn close.
No,
you know what I mean? So that was kind of an interesting thing. There was an interesting way to look at that. And I got to write Beta Ray Bill for a couple of pages.
Nice.
Yeah.
But you did mention, and I do like those miniseries set in the past. Again, I don't want you to drop dead of a heart attack because of your workload, but would you ever be interested in doing one of those?
I mean, that's what X-Men Deadly Regenesis was. I mean, that went back to the 2012 era of Laura. So, I mean, I
would you want to do someone like Spider-Man or somebody, or? Oh
my God. So I've made it. I know I'm talking myself out of work, but I kind of don't really like Peter Parker Spider-Man.
Oh, wow.
And I'm definitely talking myself out of work by saying that. But if you look at the way my characters speak about Peter and the way they interact with him, it's pretty clear how I feel about it. Like in issue number 2 of it, in Gang War, you see how Elektra has a conversation with Spider-Man. She says, like, Matthew always said he's a good person, he's got a good heart, but he talks a lot. And I made a comment like that in Venomous with Black Widow when she was communicating with Sliver, the symbiote. I took a tiny little dig at Spider-Man. I have Elektra make a tiny little dig at Spider-Man and Laura as well. So yeah, I know it's a horrible thing. One of my closest friends, Fiona, is like the biggest Spider-Man fan. But no, Peter, for somebody who's supposed to be so intelligent, he's such an idiot.
I feel like ever since they got rid of that marriage, they've kind of dumbed him down. Then, as a Spider-Man fan, I don't think I've really liked Peter Parker since then.
I mean, I think even before the marriage, before he and Mary Jane got married, he was still kind of doing some really stupid things for somebody who's supposed to be so smart.
Yeah, but there are those people, they have a high IQ, but they have like zero common sense sometimes.
Yes. I know a few of those people. But yeah, so I mean, if I don't say no to jobs. Yeah. So, but I think I just talked myself out of a job.
Or what about another Elektra one? I mean, they brought her back in the 90s. What if it's like, okay, it's the day after she's resurrected? Would you write that story?
I mean, I would totally do that. I would do that. I would do a story. I mean, I love Moon Knight. I would love to do a Moon Knight throwback story.
Nice.
Like maybe, I mean, because we know that Werewolf by Night, when we first see Moon Knight, that is his last job for the committee. But was that his first job for the committee?
Mm.
You know, so, or committee adjacent, because having been a mercenary, he's done a whole lot of stuff.
Oh yeah.
And you know, bad guys know other bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to do that. I mean, and we did that for Edgar Salazar and I did Moon Knight What If, which was a throwback, which was a direct deviation from Mark Spector Moon Knight #3, which I have on my wall, signed by Sal Valuto.
Oh, and okay, I know I keep saying I'm going to let you go, but any Hallows Eve on the horizon? Because again, she did show up. It wasn't your series, but that latest Ben Reilly versus Kane miniseries, she was in there.
Yeah, Curse of Kane.
Chasm, yeah.
The Curse of Kane, Curse of Chasm. She is Hallows Eve is in Bloodhunters.
Oh yes,
Bloodhunters.
But like any solo or miniseries or anything?
They know that I want to write more of her. I don't know if there's a spot in the current slate because you know, we're working 6, 12, 18 months ahead of time.
Oh.
So yeah, there's stuff that's coming out in 2026 that people are sort of formulating it and starting to weave the web of what's happening. So I don't know if there's a big spot for her. If there is, I will happily jump in.
I mean, come on, Marvel, at least a one shot every Halloween. Come on.
I would love to do a Halloween one shot every year. I mean, that would be great. I mean, just for giggles, you know. But I will say this, we do see a lot of different masks in Blood Hunters. And there is a Blood Hunter that for whatever reason they kept keeping out of the recap. There's a very important Blood Hunter. She's very small. Mm-hmm. She's very cute. She's very floofy. And she's probably one of the most important Blood Hunters.
Because, I mean, think about this. Every Halloween, Marvel, do an anthology book.
I would love it.
Do it like Tales from the Crypt, but instead of the Crypt Keeper, you have Hallows Eve. I
would love that. But we'll see. You know, I wish I was the one making the decisions, but unfortunately, I'm just, you know, I do what they tell me to do, basically. You know, they tell me that they want a story to fill in this whatever niche. Mm-hmm. I'll give them that story.
Nice. All right, and I think that's all Erica's working on.
That's all I'm working on for now. That's all I'm working on. Yes. Yeah, that's enough. That's plenty. That's plenty.
I almost feel like this is a fancy show because you were working when we started, and then like as soon as we leave, we're going to get back in your notebook and be writing.
No, I mean I think I'm done for the night. I was working up until like I jumped on with you, but I think I might be done for the night because like my brain is starting because now that I had to like regurgitate everything for the podcast, my brain is kind of like I'm tired now. We thought too much about comics. So I'm probably going to be done for the night, maybe watch some Bob's Burgers reruns and just conk out.
So, and you're definitely going to be watching that Daredevil TV show?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. If for no other reason than to, you know, I like Charlie Cox. I think he's great. And if for no other reason than to just see what it is that they, like, where they take the story. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, I know Lilith and I are going to be covering every episode, and we're looking for guests, like different guests for each episode. So if you want to jump on one, let me know. Or, you know, especially if you see one and you're like, I want to be on this episode.
I will let you know. As of right now, I don't know how much time I'm going to have. I mean, I still have one more podcast this month. I have another podcast next week, and then I still have a couple in February. But I'm like basically like. I can't do podcasts for a while. Oh, like, I gotta focus on work, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Again, if you know, just let me know. Again, it doesn't start till March, so. But
yeah.
Why? You're not busy. What are you doing?
Oh my god.
Wait for her to turn the camera. See that whiteboard? Just.
Honestly, it would be difficult to see because I have like I just bought more markers. So the marker that I have is like a fluorescent pink. So fluorescent pink on white doesn't show up super well. So like I know what's there because I wrote it. But if you were just trying to look at it, you probably wouldn't be able to decipher it simply because like fluorescent pink on white is not like a great contrast.
I was thinking,
but I just ordered some black markers so it'll be easier to read.
I was just thinking red string. It's like, okay, Elektra goes over here to Laura Kinney Wolverine, then she's back over here to Unleash Hell. And like,
well, I mean, the solicits for issues 4 and 5 are already out, so you know that that Bucky Barnes is coming into Laura as well.
Oh yeah,
Bucky Barnes has a 2-issue story with Laura as well.
There we go. Winter Soldier. Someone else is going to be showing up here. That movie's Thunderbolt's coming out.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, Phil, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
I always appreciate having you, like having chats. And Lilith, you have been missed.
Yes.
I hope you are well. Everybody stay warm. Everybody stay safe, and be good. Take care, man.
Again, we just bug you because we love your work. But yeah, kids, go out and buy her many works. So
please do. I have a mortgage and 2 cats that eat a lot of food.
All right. Thank you so much, man. We do appreciate your time.
Take care, man.
Thank you. All right, everyone. The great Erica Schultz, always very generous with the very limited time she has. So, yes, but again, she's as nice as she seems, when you listen to this. So, yeah, please help support her work. And again, like we said, help support your local comic shops too. Please, let's not let and again, you can buy stuff digitally, but let's not let the printed medium go away. So, all right. So, and again, this month, I don't know if it's this month, but in February, you're going to be getting a lot more Capes and Lunatics episodes. I have at least kids. I have 4 more interviews coming up here soon. So they might even, depending on scheduling, may even bleed into March. So, but yes, expect 4 more interviews. Next time I'll tell you the next one. The next one is, I talked to him once. He's making his return for the 350th episode. David Papose. We're going to talk Cable, Love and Chrome, and see what else he's up to. I know he's writing Space Ghost. I haven't been reading that. I have to check that out. All right. So if you have questions for David, let me know. And again, check out our all of our social media. We're on Facebook. We're on Blue Sky, and I'll try to give everyone time when the next interview is coming up, saying who's it going to be. So maybe I'll do it like this. At the end of every episode, I'll tell you who's next. So up next, David Papose. So questions, thoughts, send them to me. I will ask them. If you send a written email, I'll read them for you. Again, you can send audio. I can play audio for ask David Papose a question in your own voice. But you can send written emails. You can send audio to CapesandLunatics@gmail.com, or you can call the voicemail 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And again, check out the new website, which basically has every one of our episodes from the beginning of time, from all of our shows, CapesLunatics.wordpress.com. And again, help support us by buying merch at Public and Spring websites. As Lil always likes to remind you, you can rain the money on us to the Cash App link, Capes and Lunatics. And of course, subscribe to our Patreon, where Lil and I give you exclusive, uncensored episodes every month. And if you're a subscriber, you can request topics for us to discuss. It doesn't have to be comics. We talk anything on the Patreon, and it's completely uncensored. So I know our good friend Justin the Owl has sent many requests. Even Ray has sent from Australia has sent us a request that we're probably going to do for the January episode. So yes. So please, please send your thoughts. Help support us if you can, and again, help support Erica and all these creators. Okay. All right. So there's all the info. And of course, all our contact information, everything's always in our show notes for every episode. So if you don't see it if you're not listening, if you're not watching the video or you missed the slide, just scroll down. It doesn't matter if it's YouTube, the podcast, it's in the show notes. All right. Thank you, Erica Schultz. Once again, always a great guest, always very generous with her time. And again, next time David proposed, so please send your thoughts and keep an eye on our social media for the 3 guests after him. Well, at least 3 guests after him. There may be even more. I am in talks for more. So, so just keep your eyes peeled and the social media, and I will let you know as things become solid and things get scheduled. So, all right, thank you for joining us, and come back next time for David Propose.